Did you know for 300, director Zack Snyder originally wanted Brad Pitt for the role of King Leonidas, but Pitt turned down the role due to his film commitment of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. 2. Gerard Butler had 17 helmets made for him, each representing a stage of degradation throughout the battle. 3. The script demanded that most of the male cast spend the majority of their screen time bare-chested, as per Frank Miller's original graphic novel. To adequately present themselves as the most well-trained and marshaled fighting force of the time, the entire principal cast underwent a rigorous 8-week training regime organized by Mark Twight, a world record-holding professional mountain climber. Actors never repeated the same exercise twice, preventing the body from adapting to any one type of exertion. Gerard Butler has said that the training was the most difficult thing he has ever had to do in his life. When it was over, Twight admitted that he pushed the actors as hard as he's ever pushed anyone before, including himself. 4. The Battle of Thermopylae is often taught to military strategists as an example of the advantages of training, equipment, and good use of terrain as force multipliers. Did you know that for Snatch, when Guy Ritchie told Brad Pitt that he would be playing a boxer, Pitt became concerned because he had just finished shooting Fight Club and did not want to play the same type of role again. Pitt took the role anyway because he wanted to work with Ritchie so badly. 2. Brad Pitt was the one who approached director Guy Ritchie and asked for a role in this film. When Ritchie found Pitt couldn't master a London accent, he gave him the role of Mickey the Gypsy. 3. Brad Pitt's character and indecipherable speech was inspired by many critics' complaints about the accents of the characters in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Guy Ritchie decided to counter the criticisms by creating a character that not only couldn't be understood by the audience, but that also couldn't be understood by characters in the movie. 4. Every mistake that Soul, Vincent, and Tyrone make were inspired by various late-night TV shows about real-life crimes gone horribly wrong. 5. The producers couldn't afford enough extras for the boxing match sequences. Whenever a camera angle changed, the extras had to move around to create an impression of a crowded house. Did you know that for Blade Runner, director Sir Ridley Scott and director of photography Jordan Cronenweth achieved the famous shining eyes effect by using a technique invented by Fritz Lang and his cinematographer Eugen Schuftan, known as the Schuftan process. Light is bounced into the actors' and actresses' eyes off a piece of half-mirrored glass mounted at a 45-degree angle to the camera. 2. After Pris first meets J.F. Sebastian, she runs away from him, skidding into his car and smashing the window with her elbow. This was a genuine mistake caused by Hannah slipping on the wet ground. The glass wasn't breakaway glass, it was real glass, and Hannah chipped her elbow in 8 places. She still has the scar from the accident. 3. Rutger Hauer came up with many inventive ideas for his characterization, like the moment where he grabs and fondles a dove. He also improvised the now iconic line, "All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain." He later chose All Those Moments as the title of his autobiography. 4. Director Sir Ridley Scott regards this movie as probably his most personal and complete movie. Did you know for A Bronx Tale, casting scouts searched around New York City and Long Island for a teenager to play the role of Calogero? A scout noticed Lilo Brancato on Jones Beach. For most of his childhood, Brancato had done impersonations of Robert De Niro and was often told that he resembled De Niro. When he performed an impersonation for the scout, he became one of 2 actors remaining to play the role. 2. In the biker bar fight scene, a curly-haired character with a goatee is often mistaken for an early cameo appearance of Rob Schneider. This is actually a real New York City member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. 3. De Niro wanted Palminteri to be involved in every aspect of production. Palminteri was involved in casting, scouting locations, editing, and sound mixing. 4. Although it was A Bronx Tale, virtually all of it was filmed in Astoria and Jackson Heights in Queens, New York. It was easier to capture the period in those locations where many buildings from the 1920s to the 1950s still stood. 5. At one point, Lorenzo, played by Robert De Niro, tells C, played by Lilo Brancato, that he disapproves of interracial relationships. Robert De Niro has been married twice, both times to African-American women. Did you know for The Imitation Game, Benedict Cumberbatch confessed that in one of the final scenes of the film, he couldn't stop crying and had a breakdown? It was, as he said, being an actor or a person that had grown incredibly fond of the character and thinking what he had suffered and how that had affected him. 2. In an interview with USA Today, Benedict Cumberbatch said of Turing's royal pardon, "The only person who should be pardoning anybody is Alan Turing." Hopefully, the film will bring to the fore what an extraordinary human being he was and how appalling his treatment by the government was. It's a really shameful, disgraceful part of our history. 3. Ahead of the film's U.S. release, the New York Times reprinted the original 1942 crossword puzzle from the Daily Telegraph used to recruit codebreakers at Bletchley Park during World War II. Entrants who solved the puzzle could mail in their results for a chance to win a trip for two to London and a tour of the famous Bletchley Park facilities. 4. Time magazine ranked Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Alan Turing #1 in its best performances list of 2014. Did you know that for Donnie Darko, at the wrap party for the film, Seth Rogen and Jake Gyllenhaal agreed that they had no idea what the movie was about? 2. Jake Gyllenhaal uses the strategy of rarely blinking to enhance his psychotic creepiness. 3. Writer and director Richard Kelly came up with the idea for the future blobs while watching football. John Madden used to use a telestrator, where he'd diagram a paused video to show where the players were about to go moments before letting the tape roll. Kelly watched this while he was fried and started to think about what would happen, hypothetically, if someone upstairs was doing that to humans. Fittingly enough, Donnie first notices the future blobs while watching football. 4. On the set of Charlie's Angels, Drew Barrymore and Richard Kelly agreed that her production company, Flower Films, would produce this film for $4.5 million, and that Barrymore would play Miss Pomeroy. Kelly says that if Barrymore hadn't stepped in, the movie would have either gone straight to video or cable television via Starz. 5. This movie was filmed over a period of 28 days, which matches the length of time depicted in the film. Did you know that for Inside Out, unlike the other characters, Joy doesn't have a shadow due to her bright personality? 2. Pete Docter's inspiration for this film came from watching his daughter go through the turbulent part of growing up. 3. Production designer Ralph Eggleston worked for 5.5 years on Inside Out. He said it's the longest he's ever worked on one film and was the most complicated process too. 4. Yeast of Eden is based on a bakery near Pixar Studios. It only serves one kind of pizza, daily, and broccoli is one of the toppings. 5. Inside Out received an 8-minute standing ovation at its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. 6. One of the various aspects of Riley's mind that was cut from the film was a department called Faces and Names. This was the department in charge of pairing up names of people Riley has met with their respective faces, but the department leaders dislike each other and do not speak, which explains the lapse in memory people get when they cannot remember someone's name. 7. This is the first Pixar feature film with no physical antagonist character. The antagonist is the idea of things changing. Did you know for Ratatouille, the wine ordered by Anton Ego, Chateau Cheval Blanc 1947, is a real wine, a Grand Cru Bordeaux blend from the Saint-Emilion region, and an excellent vintage. Bottles appropriately stored should be in their prime drinking window as late as 2050. A bottle ordered in a restaurant would probably be priced at more than $4,000. 2. The animation team worked alongside chef Thomas Keller at his restaurant, French Laundry, to learn the art of cooking. Mr. Keller also appears in a cameo role as the voice of a patron at Gusteau's. 3. Several changes to the design of the rats, primarily the nose and ears, were made after Debbie Ducamoon, a rat expert, brought down several of her personal pets for the art and animation departments to observe. 4. To create a realistic-looking compost pile, artists photographed and researched the way real produce rots. 15 different kinds of produce were left to rot, and then photographed, such as apples, berries, bananas, mushrooms, oranges, broccoli, and lettuce. 5. Wherever possible, Brad Bird had mainly female animators working on the character of Colette.